In this lesson, we'll learn how to format content in a post and go over some content writing tips. In our last lesson, we pasted some content into our post, and we could see some issues with the formatting by doing it this way. You can see it's added some extra spaces here, and up at the top, for some reason, this is displaying larger, and it also looks like it's bold. So the first thing I want to do is come in here and delete some of these extra spaces. And if we come up here, let's highlight this and see what formatting options we have to fix this so it displays just like the rest of our content. We don't want it to stand out that much. So if I look up here, the first option we have is bold, and it does look bold, so let's click this. And if we do, we can see that nothing is happening, so this isn't going to fix the issue for us. But if we wanted to, we can make this italicized into a bulleted list, numbered list, block quote, change the alignment, but I don't think any of this is going to help. We can add links, but what we can do here is pull up this last option, toolbar toggle, and this will pull up a list of hidden options for formatting our content, which is really important. We can do things like underlining, justifying our content, changing the text color, and all kinds of features that don't really make sense to hide, but it is hidden under that toolbar toggle button. And as this is highlighted, you can see this first drop-down menu saying this is a heading 2. So if I click in this content, you can see it's displaying as a paragraph, and this is also displaying differently as a heading 2. So if I pull down this drop-down menu, you can see it's at level 2 or heading 2 formatting, but we could easily change the formatting if we wanted a heading 1, a little heading is a heading 6, format is an address. So we want to just change this to be a paragraph. So I just selected that first option, and now you can see it's kind of fixed that formatting issue. So if you are copying and pasting content in here, maybe you've written it in another program, then that's one easy way to fix that. Or if you want to format these as headings, you would do the same thing as well. So if I wanted something in here to be a heading, I could come in here and change this to be formatted just like a heading as well. So I'm going to change that back to our paragraph, and let's take a second and preview our content here. So I'm going to come over here in our publish area on the right and click the middle mouse button to preview our post. So we have our heading, 5 Unusual Delicacies of Mexico. Sounds nice and interesting. We have our date format pulling in who wrote it. It was me. The ability to edit it, and then we have all of our content here inside, so we don't have that funky formatting. It's all displaying the same. But I think there's a couple things here we can do to spice up this content. Right now it kind of just looks like a wall of text, and that can be pretty boring to people. Unfortunately, you have to capture their interest, so let's make this more interesting for people to read. So let's just take a second and talk about some tips for writing our content in our articles. When you're writing your first post, there's a couple things to think about that will help you be a lot more successful. And one of the first things you want to think about when you're writing content is your audience. So remember, you're sharing your content with the world. A future employer might see this, so if you're writing as yourself, you might want to think about that. And this will also help set your tone for your article. So if you're writing for business professionals, then the writing or the tone of your post is going to be completely different than if you're just writing casual reviews about a movie or a travel article or something like that. And the next thing you want to think about is keeping your content short or at least concise, because people have really short attention spans and they aren't patient. So the shorter you make it and the more relevant and concise your content is, then the more likely people are going to make it through all of your content. So as you're writing it, if you have more than about 600 words or even 500 words, it's a good idea to go through there and see if what you're saying, the point of your post could be made in a shorter way. If you can use less words to make the same point, that'll always be better for your readers. And the next thing you want to do is when you're reading through your post, you want to check grammar and spelling, because it's really easy to throw people off or to turn them off of your blog if your basic spelling is wrong or basic grammar. And there's some features we can talk about that'll help you do that directly in WordPress. So another thing you want to think about is if your article is relevant to the theme of your blog. So if I was writing a movie review and adding it to my blog, then that doesn't really make sense, and people are going to be kind of confused if they're following me to read about travel food articles. Then you want to keep it relevant to your blog. So if you find yourself wanting to write about movies, maybe you should create a separate blog for that, or things of that nature. You also want to make your content digestible. So if you have a wall of text like I did, one of the best things you can do for your content to make it easier for people to read is to add subheadings. Break it up into paragraphs, into relevant sections, and when people see those little small bits of content, they're more likely to take the time to read one section and be pulled in and start to read more, rather than getting overwhelmed and seeing 1,000 words as just an impenetrable wall of text. People don't like that, so you really want to break it down, make it little digestible sections. And the last thing is always make sure, if you can, write about something you enjoy, because it really shows through in your article. People really want to read real content and they want to have fun. If you aren't having fun, then your reader probably isn't going to have fun and they aren't going to want to stick around. And one way to kind of make it fun is to add images and visual content. People love to see visual content in blogs. It's a really great way to draw people in. And if they don't want to read their text, they might be more likely to if they have an image or something that they can glance at and pulls their interest. So let's go back to our blog post and see if we can implement some of this into our post. So I'm going to switch over from our post preview to our editor, and let's start by breaking up the wall of text we have. I'll just switch over here. Let's break this up into some sections to make this more intriguing. So I have this little introductory paragraph here, and each one of these little paragraphs below, I don't have 5 complete delicacies. This is just an example, so we'll add a heading to each of these sections. This first one is about Chapeline, so let's go ahead and I'm going to add that as a heading. So what I want to do is type this out, and then I could just highlight it, and just like we did before, I can change it from being a paragraph to, I want to do a level 2 heading, or a heading 2. This one's a bit too big. I'm just going to keep it as that 2. And right underneath here, this is my next paragraph. It's about iguana. So I'm going to type in that as a heading and then change it from a paragraph to a heading. And then this last section, I'll do the same. Tacos de sesos is the topic of this last paragraph, so I want my heading to reflect that topic, so set those expectations, and I'll change this from a paragraph to a heading 2. And like I said, my title implies 5. I only have 3 in here, so just make sure when you're writing yours you don't do what I do. I'm being naughty and I only have 3. So I'm clicking preview here, and I can open up that new tab so we can preview these changes here. And now you can see this is much more friendly. We just have little bits of sections, and it's much less intimidating. I feel more compelled to take the time to read this when I see that it's not going to take a lot of time. Even though it's the exact same thing, just formatted a little bit differently, it really does make a huge difference. So in our next lesson, we're going to continue formatting our post and add some images using media and the media library.